This is A Few Good Fights by the MMA Movement. I'm your host, Robert Palin. I'm going to be joined by Sean Taylor and Noel O'Keefe in a couple of minutes, but this week we're discussing UFC Ottawa, where Donald Cerrone got a huge win over Iaquinta in the main event. He then called out Conor McGregor. We'll be talking about that. UFC 237 goes down this weekend, headlined by Jessica Andrade challenging Rose Namajunas for her UFC title. We'll be previewing that card and breaking down all the fights, including giving our predictions for the main card. We'll also be counting down the top 8 moments in MMA history for the month of April. So enjoy the show. So UFC Ottawa went down this weekend. Donald Cerrone got a huge win over Iaquinta in a fight that I believe he was the underdog in, if I remember correctly. Iaquinta was ranked number 5, and now Donald Cerrone is back at lightweight on a huge run. One of the better runs of his career, aside from that huge one that he went on when he first got to the UFC. But I'll throw it to you now first. What was your thoughts on Donald Cerrone's performance? And what was your thoughts on, I guess, Iaquinta's performance in a loss as well?
Yeah, Donald Cerrone, we spoke about it last week when we were saying this, that we spoke about how we can win the fight, and it's almost become the blueprint and fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone. We always say you have to put him under pressure, you have to bully him, you have to work to the body, and you have to keep a high tempo on him. He doesn't fight great off his back foot, but if you allow him to control the tempo of the fight and for him to dictate how the fight goes, that's where Cerrone's at his best. And the opening exchange in the fight really illustrated that. And I think that set the precedent for the fight itself. If you remember, Iaquinta comes out and sort of plants himself in the center of the cage, just stands in a weird, and then he sort of turns to a karate stance.
Yeah.
But allow Cowboy go for them chopping leg kicks. And that's something we called for as well, was to really work that lead leg of Iaquinta. And he done that brilliantly. Joe Schilling in his corner, screaming out instructions, one of the best strikers in the world across Joe Schilling. So having him in his corner was huge again for Cowboy. But I honestly think if Iaquinta, when he watches this fight back, he'd be annoyed at himself that was the precedent he set by coming into the centre of the cage, standing and waiting on Cowboy. It almost looked like he thought, I'll counter and land. He had some success landing big shots. Cowboy took them, and he took some big shots. But Cowboy Cerrone utilised a brilliant game plan. We heard it a lot, how underestimated and underrated and underused is the jab in mixed martial arts. Donald Cowboy Cerrone pumped it out all day, the 5 rounds, and it was a stunning performance considering the wins Iaquinta's had. But I honestly think that Iaquinta would be very disappointed. Ray Longo screaming at him to go out there and bully Cowboy, and he never had the opportunity. But Donald Cowboy Cerrone, dare I say it, I think that was the best performance I've seen from Donald Cowboy Cerrone in at least his last 15, 20 fights.
What's your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I thought Cowboy did a really good job of not letting Al bully him, with the kicks, the jab, all that, because that was the game plan, to get in Cowboy's face, and he did a really good job of not letting him. But yeah, Cowboy looked phenomenal. We didn't write him off as such, but we all picked against him. We all thought he was a fair underdog, and just proved us wrong again, didn't he? Daddy Cowboy doing bits.
I love that Daddy Cowboy.
Daddy Cowboy.
Yeah. I thought you were right there, Noel, the way Iaquinta came out and just kind of planted his feet and trying to land shots. And I thought Cerrone was doing a great job countering those shots with the high kick, because there was a few occasions where he landed the high kick off Iaquinta's looping over right hand. So I just thought it was a great performance by both of them, to be fair, because I thought Iaquinta made some great adjustments in the second. He started going to the body, and you could see that was troubling Cerrone, and then Cerrone made his own adjustments. I just thought it was a really good fight, unexpected in many ways, but again, Cerrone at lightweight going 5 rounds against a guy who doesn't slow down, that's impressive. And now you have to think about him, what can he do in this division at this age? I kind of wrote him off in a bit. I kind of said that I don't think he's going to win a title. While Khabib is there, I still don't think that's the case, that he will win the title. But you have to consider him a bit of a contender in the division now. You really do.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. And I know the Khabib thing of, what he's the champion, but it starts in the feet, and Cowboy, one thing Cowboy does a lot as well, he can catch opponents coming in looking for takedowns. He can catch them with them knees. And as you brought up last week's show, Rob, about the transitions, his submissions in them transitions in scrambles on the ground. So don't get me wrong, I'd fancy Khabib to win the fight, but it's almost like when Showtime Pettis was matched against Tony Ferguson, everyone thought it was just a foregone conclusion. I certainly don't think that's the case. And again, it's weird that like I picked against Cowboy in his last couple of fights, but like I honestly just think, you know, I don't think he's a walk in the park for anyone. Like when you look at the losses that he did have, like Leon Edwards is a big welter, you know what I mean? Darren Till, a big welter, you know. Robbie Lawler, again, fought in welter for a long time. So his losses really, when you put them together like that, he's only lost a legit contender. So he's now Mike Perry, Alexander Hernandez, and Al Iaquinta. That is hugely impressive.
It is, yeah.
And you know, again, you know, it's in a really weird way. I know why he's doing it. He's almost like the way DC talks about Brock. Again, he talks about Conor after his win. Stop talking about Conor. You should be talking about Khabib. You know what I mean? You should be saying, I want my shot. You know, get Conor out of your mouth. Forget about it. But it's the big money fight. I did think it was funny in the post-fight. He said, yeah, let's fight my bank account against your bank account. So I did think that was funny. But for me, again, Cowboy, get Conor out of your mouth. Everybody's calling Conor McGregor out when they win. Go in your own path. Go after that UFC goal. Forget about Conor McGregor.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you, I'll throw it to you now, Sean, about his call out, because like, I thought it was kind of a good way of doing it, because he knows that Khabib is tied up with Poirier, and maybe Tony Ferguson as well, because them two are probably still ahead of him. So to put your name in the hat again against Conor, who it looked like the UFC wanted to make that fight at some point, it seemed like they did. So what was your thoughts on that, Sean? Do you agree with Noel that it was a bad move that he called out Conor, or do you think it was a good move that he kind of left his options open?
No, I quite like the call. I really like the fight, because it looks now like the UFC want to do Khabib and Dustin in September in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So that's tied up. Ali Abdelaziz was saying that Khabib wants to fight 3 times now the next 11 months.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
So September, December. So why not? Like, Cowboy's not going to sit in his ass between now and December. So give him someone like McGregor or something. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. In the co-main event, it lived up to the hype. I think the hype that we put on it going into it. Now, what was your thoughts on Derek Brunson versus Elias Theodorou?
It was everything we said and more. It was the ugliest fight I think I've ever seen in the UFC, and that is including CM Punk. I thought I was watching it going, this is fucking
mad, wasn't it?
Horseshit. Like, this is awful. Like, you could see Theodorou's game plan was to just like circle and stay moving, and Brunson was just trying to say, stay still, motherfucker. But like, it was just awful, and Theodorou was throwing these really like unorthodox spinning attacks, and just it was just fucking ugly.
Yeah.
I when I watched the fight, about an hour after watching it, I came across, I don't know if you've ever seen Aussie Man Reviews.
Yeah.
And I actually sent you guys a link for it. But there's 2 gentlemen who look like they potentially are intoxicated having a fight, and one of the guys just keeps twirling for no apparent reason and then just throw a punch, and that's it. To me, it was like a remake of Brunson and Elias Theodorou. It was an awful fight, a fucking awful fight. It should have never been co-main. We said it was a weird fight when it was matched. I don't think anyone comes out a winner in it, being honest with you. Like, I don't think anyone's ever going to speak of that fight highly, or if, you know, it was an ugly fight. It was absolute horseshit. There was no technique in it. It didn't look like a high-level mixed martial arts fight. That looks like 2 debutants at an amateur fight somewhere in a sports hall in fucking Wigan.
Yeah. Do you know what the thing was? Yeah. Do you know the thing was is that both of them are definitely talented. They got to the UFC. They have some skills, but both of them are talented and skilled in the areas that the fight was never going to get to. And, you know, it got to the ground at some points, and there was moments there where Brunson kind of showed some of his skills on top, and I really liked the Frank Trigg esque slam, which was nice. But for the most part, it was on the feet and it was kind of scrambly, and it was an ugly fight. It wasn't great to watch. Was there anything else on the main card that really jumped out to any of us?
I loved Shane Burgos and Cub Swanson. I thought it was a fucking phenomenal fight. Yeah. 2 fighters just happily stood in striking range. Beautiful head movement utilised by both fighters. More so Cub Swanson. I thought Cub Swanson's head movement was absolutely phenomenal. Start mixing it up. Interesting, the judges' scorecards, that one gave it 30-27 one way and one gave it 30-27 the other, and then 29-28 for a split decision for Burgos. But I thought it was a phenomenal fight. when Cub went to his corner, he's like, "Is that 2-2 or 1-1?" And they sort of said it could be 2-0. So let's go out there and get a finish. And you could see that Cub Swanson came out in the third round with intensity, but Shane Burgos overcame that and fought on. I think the blinker in me sort of thought Cub done enough maybe to shade 2 rounds. I definitely think that's an absolutely 100% biased opinion. But I thought it was an excellent fight, but it was an exceptional fight more so for Shane Burgos because he's fought one of the best to ever do it in Cub Swanson in the featherweight division. So, Cub's 35 years of age. He spoke about moving on. Potentially that's 4-0 in the UFC now in his last 4 fights. So that could be the end of Cub in the UFC. I was half expecting to see him lay his gloves down in the cage just because he went 4-0. I don't think it's the right time because I still think he showed he can hang. I thought it was a phenomenal fight. It was a joy to watch how they exchanged in so close proximity. Neither one of them was on their bike. We just spoke about Brunson and Theodoro. None of them were on the bike like that. They were happy to sit in the pocket with each other and exchange and utilize their skill and feints and head movements and combinations. It was phenomenal. It was a truly enjoyable fight. For me, it was the best fight on the card.
Do you agree, Sean?
Yeah, it was a really good fight, especially considering I know you, but Noel really liked the Cub as an underdog in the betting. So yeah, the scorecard kind of reflected the type of fight it was. It was one of them you can score the round sort of either way and stuff. So.
That's what I thought because we had a quick chat, me and Noel, before we jumped on the call, and we were talking about the scorecards, and I said I kind of understand where the judges are coming from. This is the one fight where I kind of understand it because, as Noel said, he maybe could have scored 2 rounds of the Cub. Each round I thought was quite close. So if you're watching it as a judge, not conferring with anybody else, maybe you could see some rounds going to another guy. So I wasn't hugely annoyed about the scorecards. It was strange seeing that scorecard, but I wasn't hugely annoyed.
And what I always say about judging is, and I speak when I'm away with any show I'm doing, be it Clan Wars, Cage Legacy, Brave, whatever. When I'm away, I love speaking to the judges after a really close fight. I'd ask sometimes to see the scorecards. The one that stood out recently was Jiraiya Al-Sawai and Abdul Abdurragimov. I went over and was like, "Can I have a look at the cards?" Clemens showed me the cards. I was like, "Wow, it was round 3 that swung it," because 2 judges seen round 3 for Abdurragimov and 1 judge seen it for Al-Sawai. So it was like that was the round, and five rounds. It was 1 round that was the difference, and 2 seen it one way, 1 seen it the other. So I really think it's position as well, because when you think about judges, I know judges get a lot of flack and a lot of they get stick basically, but when the judges are pointed around the octagon, they're not all sat beside each other. So one will be this side, one will be this side. So angles and what 2 guys see on this side might be Cub Swanson head movement and feinting and getting out of the way and not getting hit, while the other guy sees the shot land flush and gone boom.
That's gonna say that,
So it's about position, but I think that's one of them fights that I know I scream robbery sometimes in some fights, but I can really see how they scored it that way.
When 2 guys are in the pocket throwing and you have a different angle, you're behind, you can't really see what's happening. So it's very, very difficult.
No comments as well.
Yeah. Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic was announced for Anaheim for UFC 241 in the summer. So Stipe Miocic finally gets his title fight back. Hasn't fought since his last title fight, and it looks like Brock Lesnar has retired from mixed martial arts now after that fight with Daniel Cormier fell through. Apparently what happened was Brock Lesnar asked for a bigger upfront fee for his appearance at the UFC because of the different pay structures in pay-per-view now with ESPN. So I'll throw to Sean first on this one. What's your thoughts on Cormier versus Stipe? And are you happy or sad that Brock Lesnar has officially retired from MMA?
To me, I'm not really that bothered that Brock's retired. I didn't see that much of him when he was first in the UFC. All I seen of him was him juiced to the gills against Mark Hunt. That was all I seen of Brock. Just one look at him and you knew he was on it.
Yeah.
But I really liked the DC Stipe fight. I'd have liked to seen Stipe have a fight in the interim, between his last fight and now. But yeah, I think it makes sense with Brock not there.
Yeah, care less about Brock. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't think this stage he's going to come in and be a legitimate contender in the UFC. So he's being brought in for that sort of freak show hype. WWE fan, and by talking to people who watch the WWE, apparently Brock's not that big anymore in WWE either. He lost his fake belt at I don't know, SummerSlam or WrestleMania or whatever it was. So
you were all over WrestleMania last.
No,
last
I know. Don't get me wrong. You know, whatever. It's fake, but
Yeah,
whatever. So I'm not on board with Brock coming back to the UFC anyway. Like Sean said, he pissed hot against Mark Hunt, so he shouldn't be able to just walk off, earn money with the WWE, and then come back and say, "Hey, I'm going to fight for the title." Like the only way I feel is that it would have probably been big money for DC, but I think the rightful suitor is getting the fight. Stipe Miocic is the most successful UFC heavyweight champion of all time. He should have got a rematch straight off the bat. He said he was available again when Derek Lewis stepped in. Obviously, DC wants a full camp fighting Stipe. I think the fight goes different when they fight again. I think Stipe gets the W.
I think based on form, Francis Ngannou deserves the title fight, and that's who, if I was kind of in charge there, that's what I'd go for. But I do agree that because Stipe was so successful at heavyweight relative to other heavyweights, because being successful at heavyweight, you don't really have to do that much. But as a champion, I mean, defended a couple times. So, you know, he probably could have got that rematch immediately, but I just think him staying off for so long is a bit of a problem to me. To give him a title fight now, we didn't fight. He kind of was just sitting out. So I think Francis Ngannou would feel a little bit hard done by.
Like I get that point, but if you look at the contenders that are coming up, you know, they've all been beaten by Stipe. So
yeah, it's true.
In that sense, he can put up. Am I not right in saying that Junior Santos and Francis Ngannou are fighting?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so they're already tied up, so there's already belts made. So Stipe makes the most century.
Yeah, plus it seems like a timing thing as well.
I think as well, this is the first of what we're seeing. We spoke about this before with the flat pay-per-view, or the pay-per-view guarantee, giving fighters a lot less power. Like, if Brock's quite a big name, and I know we disagree over what he's actually worth to the UFC, but he's going to draw a lot of fans, and if he can't get a guarantee or a bigger purse, then it doesn't say a lot for a lot of guys.
That's very true. And to be honest, with Brock Lesnar, I'm not upset that he's retiring, but I always found Brock Lesnar fun. I know you can talk about the whole steroid thing, but when Brock Lesnar fights, I always found him fun to watch. So I don't really care that much, but you know, I wouldn't mind seeing him being in there once more, to be honest. Yeah. Featherweight top contenders, Moicano and the Korean Zombie are going to headline UFC Greenville. That, you know, not a huge news, I don't think. You know, two top contenders in the division, but I just think it's an incredible fight. What's your thoughts, Noel?
Yeah, absolutely cracking fight. Styles make fights, and I just think this one has all the hallmarks to be an absolute bloodbath. I just think, you know, Korean Zombie, obviously, he's not called that because he goes down after taking a shot. And Moicano, again, I do think this can be the first big step towards title contention as well. Again, I think this is a fun fight. I really do. When did you say it's on?
It's UFC Greenville. I don't know the date. I'll get the date now. But yeah, UFC Greenville. It's the headliner.
Yeah, cracking fight. Both fighters are always in entertaining fights. So again, you know, sometimes when it looks like it's going to be great on paper, we talk about paper fights, it doesn't turn out that way, but I just think this one's going to deliver. Fantastic fight.
Like it, Sean?
Yeah, brilliant fight. Sounds like violence to me, and I'm down with that.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal fight. There's not too much more to say about that. Just a phenomenal fight. Roy Jones Jr. confirmed that he's ready to dirty box against Vitor Belfort. Vitor signed for one championship not too long ago, and we know that the Asian promotions don't mind a bit of cross promotion with sports. So, what's your thoughts on Roy Jones Jr. potentially boxing against Vitor Belfort, Sean?
Don't care. I don't care about it. Like. Yeah. Roy Jones is well past his best. He only retired last year or late the year before.
Yep.
He's not that long retired.
Yep.
But I mean, his last fight was literally against a tin can to get money.
Plumber.
Yeah, a plumber, a proper plumber.
Proper
plumber.
I have no interest in seeing that fight whatsoever.
I have a feeling you were loving it now.
No, I think there's an echo on Sean's microphone because it's bouncing around this room. Couldn't give a shite. Who cares? Don't care.
But here's the thing: would you just watch it if it was announced?
No.
I would.
No.
I'm terrible.
If there's a wicked knockout, I'll watch it on Twitter or something.
Well, listen, Vitor Belfort is going to be on TRT. He's going to be jacked to the gills. He's going to have no neck, and Roy Jones Jr. is going to box him up.
Well, you know, we must say, like, we don't endorse TR or feel that he has, but like, you know, yeah, I don't care. It's you know, like, I know I got absolutely honeydicked by McGregor Mayweather in the end, but like,
I think everybody did though.
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's like same way I didn't watch Chuck and Tito.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Cub Swanson said at a pre-fight scrum that he forgives TJ Dillashaw for his recent drug test failure. Of course, Cub Swanson and TJ are training partners, or at least they were training partners, and he came out and he said he does forgive him. What's your thoughts on this news? Of course, like, teammates, they're gonna have each other's backs, but do you think that in the sport where people are always talking about fighters failing for drug tests being cheats, and there's a huge kind of controversy about it, and now people are coming out and saying, oh yeah, I forgive him for taking this substance, do you have any problem with that?
I found it really strange, to be honest. I know they're teammates, but like, he was going in the cage there to hurt someone on EPO. Yeah, I wasn't that comfortable with Cub's comments. I thought it was weird. He wouldn't have been so forgiven, I'd imagine, if it was someone coming in to fight him and they had failed for EPO. So yeah. Yeah,
he even said like he doesn't really want to talk about it beforehand, going into the fight. But he said, like, his gym is all about honesty and pride and integrity, all that. Saying all the right things, Cub. But like he's saying, he forgives him, but like it doesn't matter if he gives him or not. You know what I mean? It's like if they're training partners and friends more so, like, you know what I mean? You're gonna forgive your friend for doing something, but like doesn't mean you agree with it. Essentially. Do you know what I mean? But like we all know it's not right. He cheated, and as Sean said, it's different. It's not like he's going out there and trying to beat somebody in a foot race. He's going in to beat them with his fists and his hands and his knees and his elbows, and that's bullshit. So
I guess the big one is that, like, you have to inject this stuff, so it's not like it was a mistake. As TJ said, it was a mistake, but you can say that, but it's a bit of a weird one.
I think mistake means mistaken judgment.
Yeah, mistaken judgment. Yeah.
TJ said it was a mistake, but that apology sounded very like he was just sorry for getting fucking caught, didn't it?
Yeah,
that's what a lot of apologies are, I think. Ali Abdelaziz, Khabib's manager, said that Khabib would like to defend his title 3 times over the next 11 months. Lightweight hasn't really had an active champion as of late. Do you think that Khabib is going to be that guy? No?
That's very confident of Ali Abdel to say that, because he's basically saying he's going to win his 3 fights. Yeah. So who knows? He could go out there and get fucked up by Dustin Poirier and he's defending shit after that. But it is good to hear that we're going to have an active champion again every weight class. It's quite funny. Like, obviously when you're a contender and you're trying to climb the ladder to become the champion, you're quite active. Just look at Cowboy Cerrone that we were talking about earlier. But as soon as you get the title, it's like, kicking my feet up and I'm fighting once every 8 months. So it's weird in that sense, but I'd like to see an active Khabib, 100%. But he's got his hands full with speaking about yes, everybody will favour Khabib coming into this fight with Dustin Poirier. I'm done past looking Dustin Poirier. I'm done past looking past him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's about time you start realising that Poirier is legit. And he's been showcasing that in his last few fights. So great to hear that Khabib's going to be active, but will he be active with the belt still wrapped around his waist?
Sean?
If presuming he does keep winning, I don't see any reason he can't be active. I mean, he's been fairly active before McGregor. He had McGregor, Al, and Michael Johnson, was it? Yeah, he had those 3 fights relatively close together, fairly active. I know he wasn't champion at the time, and champions do only tend to fight max twice a year. So, but yeah, I don't see any reason he can't fight 3 times in the next 11 months.
You'd hope so. Like, he has had a past kind of difficulties with injuries before.
And the weight cut as well.
And the weight cut. And also, you have Ramadan there, which he doesn't fight in. So, I know that probably won't fall on the exact times he wants to fight, but, you have them obstacles there.
That's why I think Ali is saying now the next 11 months, because we're in Ramadan now, so that's he's obviously null and void for the next month or so.
Yeah, but it's just injuries might push it over. But was there any other news that you guys seen? I'll throw it to Sean first. That you seen that we didn't cover today over the weekend?
Bellator Birmingham, some big finish there.
Oh,
you guys seen them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Raymond Daniels.
Gago Plata and 720 spinning right fist, was it? What was it?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Some mad shit. Just put that one down in Topology as mad shit.
Yeah, mad shit. Spinning shit, yeah.
Yeah.
There were some great fights. The Raymond Daniels knockout. Spin, 720 spin, and then right hook, get down. Unbelievable. Then Gago Plata as well, yeah. It's lovely.
You could see his opponents are going, all right, he's finished spinning.
Yeah.
But yeah, very funny. One would be Yushin Okami's one debut didn't go according to plan.
Yes, that's true.
Abasov spoils his debut with a second round finish via ground and pound. It was a beautiful right hand. Came over the top to drop Okami and then finished him with ground and pound. So it didn't go too well. Jonathan Haggerty won the one championship world title in Muay Thai as well. He was the guy who I shared his spinning elbow on Instagram there the last time he fought and won. And absolutely phenomenal. But we talked a little bit about one last week. I one actually to call out as well. Home Irish soil, Keith McCabe. Keith was off fighting in Bushido at the weekend. So he was fighting a guy called Viktoralas Jagalo, who is Lithuanian. It was in Lithuania. Keith looked like he had put his opponent out in the dying embers of the third round. Multiple submission attempts by the Butcher. And the fight ended in a draw. Which is basically a victory if you look at it any other way. I'm not saying Lithuania is corrupt, but I'm not saying it's not corrupt. But yeah, Keith McCabe doing well. I just seen a mate of his, I'm not too sure, was saying that, forgive me, I'm off Twitter, but I was saying it on Twitter about Keith and signing him up for Bellator. I like that. It just might sound weird. Like obviously Bellator are huge, but I like that Keith's going and he's fighting in these places. Like you look at lads, they go off and they have fights on different promotions and they sort of build up their experience, build up their record. Like I think if you're newly signed, you only have to look at Bellator at the weekend. When you looked at that Bellator card, I'm like, holy shit! Like Ken Musa was fighting, and he was way down the card. Yeah, do you know what I mean? To serious fights like Sam Slater against Wanless. Way down the card, like I think it was the fourth fight. So I think like if you're fighting in Bellator, obviously good if you're getting signed with a good contract, excellent. Can't blame fighters. If you're getting paid, sign that contract. But if it's on minimal money, as in normal money, like I don't know what Keith would have got for fighting on Bushido there, but like if he was getting the same money on Bushido, I think it's better for Keith McCabe to fight in Bushido, to continue fighting in Bushido, build up his career and move on. Because I think right now, if you're signed in Bellator, Irish or UK fighter, you're just drowned in the pool of the card. Like I think there was something like 18 fights up there. Yeah. But like my point is, Keith's an excellent fighter. It looked like to me, watching the highlights of the fight, it looked to me like it was going to be Keith's victory, but it was scored a draw. So.
Did I see as well, Noel, that Brave announced an open weight tournament?
That was Mohammed Shaheed, who's the CEO of Brave, basically mentioned that they're on Fight Week in Bahrain. They're looking to host an open invitational to any fighter. And it's basically the idea is there's a lot of talk of pound for pound fighters. Who's the best pound for pound fighter? And Mohammed, like when you watch Mohammed speak or you listen to Mohammed speak, you can't be but pulled in by his passion for the sport. And he puts it quite bluntly, let's stop talking about it and let's have a tournament to find out who is. So they're putting up a purse, I can't remember what the purse is, and one of the most expensive belts, I think it's going to be the most expensive belt in combat sports. And it's an open tournament that all fighters can register, and they'll select, I can't remember if it's going to be 16, 8 or 4 fighters to compete in an open weight tournament that technically you could have a welterweight fight and a heavyweight. Where you could determine who's the best of the best at weight classes. So really interesting. And I think Mohammed was sort of, I don't think he was, it was in Mohammed's corner. It's called the Hawks Corner. It's on Brave's YouTube channel. And it's a really interesting listen. Like Kirik and Phil are just speaking with Mohammed, and he sort of lets the cat out of the bag. I don't think he was meant to, but it's out there now, and I think it'd be awesome. I just hope I'm on the call for it. It'd be class. But he also said like it's open invitational, but like if you're like 2-6, don't apply. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to be the best pound for pound fighter in the world if you're 2-6. Like so, it'd be interesting to see. Be interesting to see who would apply. Obviously, a lot of fighters are contracted. Like you're not going to get a UFC fighter, for example, who's in contract to compete in this. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Before we go on to the next bit, Sean, quick thoughts on Canelo Jacobs?
Close fight. Jacobs started very slow. I think that cost him in the end. I think he gave away pretty much all of the first 6 rounds. Yeah. Came on very well in the end. I know you seen my video that I retweeted on Twitter, Rob. Canelo or Jacobs to the left hook, and Canelo just ate it.
He rolled with it though. He rolled beautifully with it.
He did, yeah. And the Mexican meat helps make that chin a bit stronger as well, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good. It was a grand fight.
It was a grand fight. How Irish of you.
It wasn't very special. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to UFC 237, breakdown, preview, and prediction. UFC 237 goes down this weekend in Brazil. It's headlined by Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade for the title. And we're going to start right at the top. We're not going to go too long on this card, but it is a decent card. And it is in Brazil, so you have some Brazilian legends on it. So I'll throw it to you now, Noel, first. Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade, initial thoughts on this fight and how it's going to go.
It's a long time since we've seen Rose Namajunas. It's over a year since we've seen her. The last time she fought, she beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk, defended the belt for the first time. A lot of people thought the first win was fluke. Thought Joanna maybe overlooked her. Second fight, she just nailed the hammer home to say, nah, there's a new queen in town. But I think, as again, I know it's a thing you always say, styles makes fights, yada, yada, yada. But I just think that Jessica Andrade is just an absolute monster. You've seen it in her last few performances, how she beat the likes of Carolina, absolutely tore through her, big unanimous decisions over Tisha Torres and Cladea. For me, I just see Andrade bullying Rose here. It's the style of fight that I think Rose is going to suffer against. Now, that's not to say in that year that we haven't seen her being competitive, that she isn't working on her game, her all-round game. But I just think there's only one winner here, and it's Jessica Andrade. I just think she's going to be too strong, too powerful, too much pressure, not allowing Rose time, and I think she's going to bloody Rose Namajunas up, and I think it's going to be a bloody beatdown.
Wow. Sean, do you agree?
I just had a quick look on Tapology there, and the fans' predictions are 56% for Andrade and 44 for Rose. So not quite as clear cut as Noel makes it out to be.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Rose, but I think as well last year I picked Rose to still be champion in this division by the end of the year. But yeah, I don't know. I'd struggle to pick her in the fight, but yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? I think it's a really good fight. But I tend to agree with you, Noel, that I think it's a very bad matchup for Rose Namajunas. Yeah. Not that she can't win it, because she has proven that she is an excellent fighter. But in the past, Andrade has only been beat by real craft, like real experience and craft. And I'm not saying Rose doesn't have that, but we have to remember that Rose still is pretty early in her career. Like, she's been around for a while. But you know, I think she still has a lot to learn in terms of dealing with this type of style. And we haven't really seen her deal with this type of style. I think Carolina is the closest to it, and even then, it's not even that close. You know, Carolina is a good come forward striker, but she doesn't really have the tenacity that Andrade has. But Andrade as well sometimes can get stuck in that kind of moving forward, trying to land shots, and can get countered. We've seen it against Joanna. Joanna done a good job beating her off the back foot, and Rose can play that game, but I just don't know if she's going to be able to do it here. Also, you do need to take into account how long Rose has been out and why she was out. She obviously had some kind of issues mentally, and we know she's a very emotional fighter, and she fights with emotion. And she kind of wears her emotions on her sleeve. So it'd be interesting to see now, coming into Brazil, into enemy territory. She's going to be booed. They're going to be shouting, you know, "You're going to die" in Brazilian. How is she going to deal with that?
It's actually
did I say Brazilian?
Portuguese.
In Portuguese. I should have known that. You're married to a Portuguese woman. In Portuguese. So yeah, I think it's a tough ask for Rose here. I really do.
Like, I agree with you. Like, the whole thing is that she was still shook from the madness that went on at UFC 223.
Yeah.
We'll just refer to it as the bus incident. But yeah, like I think like Rose, what she does have in her corner is Trevor Whitman, one of the best coaches in the game.
Yeah.
So he'll have to be tactical in the decision here. But again, like I think Rose showed in the 2 fights against Joanna that she is high level. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
She has wins over Tisha Torres, over Michelle Watterson as well. So you know the whole MMA mats that we share a line, like Carolina Khabib, she has a loss to Carolina, while Andrade absolutely decimated Carolina. So we know MMA mats doesn't work, but I just think this is a different style fight, and I just think it's going to be the pressure that's going to be telling. And as you said, Rob, I genuinely believe I got to give credit to Rose for going to Brazil as her first fight. It's not an easy option for the defense. No. But her first fight after going through the trauma that she's openly spoke about of the bus incident, to then go down to Brazil and face that noise is just insane. So yeah, best of luck.
What's your thoughts? What's your pick, Sean?
I'm gonna go Rose just because I'm gonna stick with what I made in the India predictions. But yeah, I'm not confident in that at all.
Yeah, I'm going with Andrade as well because I just think it's a tough ask, but I wouldn't be hugely surprised because if you go back and you look at Rose's career and look at, you know, fight on fight, she has made huge improvements. And how many times have we seen this type of fight where you have somebody who you feel like the aggressive fighter is going to win and then just gets pieced up by footwork and better striking, and that could happen. But I just don't see it here. I think this is Andrade's fight to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I go Andrade stoppage third round.
Very nice. In the co-main event, you have Jerry Cannonier fighting the legend Anderson Silva. Weird fight in a way. It's weird seeing Anderson Silva just fight, you know, lower level guys or perceived lower level guys. So, Noel, what's your thoughts on the fight itself? And I guess how do you think it's going to go?
I tell you, like it's this is a tough one because you've obviously Carneiro coming down from 205 as well. It's not at 205 this one, is it? Anderson's not going up, is he?
No,
it is middle.
Yeah.
Again, it's a weird fight, but I think it actually has the intensity to be a fun fight. Carneiro coming off a great win over David Branch. That was back in October, November, December, somewhere around then. So yeah, he's had the losses. Then he lost to Dominic Reyes and Glover in the past.
Yeah.
So he's against bigger guys. Look, it's Anderson. It's going to be fun. Like I honestly think Anderson, a little bit of it might have went down to the respect that Israel Adesanya showed him. But I thought like he had his moments in that fight too.
Yeah, look good.
For me, I'd love to see Anderson get the win in Brazil. Sentimental value. I'd like to see Anderson get the win. But I just think Jericho, you know, Cannoniero, he's the guy that could come in and just absolutely ruin the party. He has huge power. And if he catches Anderson Silva, he could finish him. But it depends. Like Anderson has this sort of mystique that when a fighter stands in front of him, and you see him with Israel, when a fighter stands in front of him, they just, oh my God, I'm fighting Anderson Silva.
They freeze a little, yeah.
So it's like, what can happen there? And that's where Anderson can beat him. I think I almost watching Anderson Silva now, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I mean it like respectfully with the utmost respect. I think when you're watching Anderson Silva now, it's almost like watching the Harlem Globetrotters. Yeah. You know, you're almost watching a guy who just loves to fight. He's not fighting to win titles anymore. He's fighting because he loves it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts calling Carneiro in against the cage and starts doing all the Anderson stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I want Anderson to win. Just for sentimental values, I want Anderson to win.
What's your pick?
Cannoniero.
Cannoniero.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna pick Cannoniero.
Yeah. Sean.
It's a poor fight for a co-main event of a pay-per-view card.
We just had Elias Theodoro and Derek Brunson, for God's sake.
Yeah, a fight night card is the only thing. Yeah, I think it's a nice enough matchup for Anderson. I'm just getting the odds up here at the minute. No odds on Tapology, great stuff.
Lovely.
But I think it's a nice enough matchup for Anderson. If you look at Ray, he hasn't fought a lot. He's been in the UFC since 2015.
Yeah.
Hasn't fought a massive amount in those years. In fairness, he had some losses to some good guys at light heavy. But I'm not, 20 pounds is a lot to drop. I'm not sure how that'll affect him. I'm going to go Anderson.
Yeah, his last fight was at middleweight and he looked pretty good. He looked like a different guy. Actually physically looked like a different guy. I didn't even know it was him. But yeah, I think Anderson should win this fight. I do. I think he should win it. But the only thing is, Anderson is getting old, and Cannonier is 35 himself. But
a young man.
Yeah, Anderson Silva is getting old, and his style just doesn't seem to be a style that should age gracefully, meaning that he uses a lot of reactions and countering, and eventually you get caught. And we've seen him get caught. Chris Weidman caught him. Michael Bisping caught him a couple of times. And we've seen him being caught in multiple fights as well. So if he stands right in front of Cannonier, and Cannonier is thrown in combinations, he might catch him. You know, it might happen. But I feel like Anderson should win this fight. I feel like he should win this fight. He has better striking. If he fights smart, he should win this fight. I'm going to pick Anderson to win by decision. Yeah, by decision.
44 now, Anderson.
44.
Insane.
Do we have any odds on that at all, Sean? Can we find any, no?
I couldn't find that, no.
Okay.
Does any of them sell any leather belts? Or?
No, unfortunately not. I get the fans' predictions on Tapology is what I do.
Anderson, I think that is the face of Viagra now, right?
Face of Viagra, yeah.
62% of people on Tapology have picked Anderson, and 38 Cannonier.
I think that's nostalgia.
This could be the co-main event. If you're complaining about the co-main event, this probably could have been it. Jose Aldo fights Alexander Volkanovski.
This is a cracking fight.
I think this was lined up to be the co-main event, but wasn't this the one where Aldo said he didn't want to fight a 5-round fight? It was not for a title.
So this is supposed to be the main event?
Co-main.
Well, co-main wouldn't be.
Co-main wouldn't be 5. So strange.
No.
I do remember that though. Aldo did say he didn't want to fight 5 rounds. Maybe they had this lined up as a main event on a fight night, and then he moved to here and slotted in. That makes a lot of sense. But man, this is a great fight.
This is an insane fight, and it's more so by the rejuvenation of Jose Aldo as well.
Yes.
Like he's coming off the 2 losses to Max Holloway that were really tough losses, and everyone was sort of saying, you know, is Jose Aldo done? Has he done everything he has done in the game? And then he comes out and absolutely put on a clinic against Jeremy Stevenson and Moicano, coming up against Alexander Volkanovski. Though this is an insane fight. Volkanovski is on a 16-fight win streak. 16-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to hear in MMA. 19 wins, 11 of them by TKO, 3 submissions, only gone to decision 5 times. This is an incredible fight, and this really shows if Alexander Volkanovski, this determines, like, for the title, if you look at the division, if Volkanovski wins this, he's fighting Max Holloway for 145 belt. If Jose wins, do they do that match again? You know, the hat-trick, is it going to be any different results? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't see it being different. But Jose Aldo in Brazil, with the momentum that he has now, is going to be a very difficult fighter to beat. But for me, I just think Volkanovski has the tools to do it. I really do. I think this is going to be an insane fight. It's going to be an absolute back and forth war. And I think he'll happily stand and trade with Aldo. Aldo to win needs to go back to what he does, working them leg kicks, leading on them leg kicks again. Going back, he has such no tell, and the power he possesses, and he'll take away that lead leg from Volkanovski and then start working the body and go with the hands. For me, he's just rejuvenated Jose Aldo. This is a fun fight. I'm saying Volkanovski, but for me, it's a coin flip. This is going to be fight of the night, and the potential sounds hyped. This could be fight of the year, but it genuinely could be. This is an incredible matchup, and this is going to be a real put the flagpole down and say featherweight division is one of the best divisions in mixed martial arts.
I'm wondering how this has been voted on Tapology. I don't know if you can get that, Sean. Yeah. But while you do, this is an incredible fight, and I find this very, very difficult to pick. And I have a feeling that maybe people would be going for Jose Aldo in those picks, but it's very, very close, I'd imagine, or at least close enough. Do you have it?
I have it there in front of me. Yeah, 64 Jose, 36 Volkanovski.
Okay.
They're not reflected whatsoever in the actual betting odds. It's basically a 50-50 fight in the betting odds. Yeah.
That makes
really
sense.
Is a coin flip.
That makes sense.
Stunning fight. Yeah. Stunning fight.
Yeah.
When you look at what Volkanovski done to Chad Mendes, like he made Chad Mendes retire for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the beating he put on him.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go Jose Aldo. I just think that Volkanovski does excellent when he gets takedowns, when he gets on top, when he mixes in his striking. And I just think Jose Aldo has shown over the years that his takedown defense hasn't got worse. It's only got better over the years, and it's always been excellent. I think it's going to stay on the feet. I think they're going to trade. And I think that Jose Aldo is going to be able to land enough to win the fight. I'm not confident on it, though, at all. Is Jose Aldo the favourite, did you say?
Yeah, slight
favourite. Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Sean?
I'm going to take Jose as well, just in Brazil, hometown favourite. Yeah, I think we're in for a cracker here, though. I think we're in for a war.
Yeah, and Alexander's going to be going in here with sky high confidence as well on that huge win streak.
That must be one of the longest win streaks in MMA at present.
It must be,
if not the longest.
In the UFC. It's got to
be
Khabib. Yeah. He said one of, though, to be fair. Thiago Alves returns against Lorenzo Strapoli. Thoughts now? Thiago Alves is back.
I absolutely love Thiago, but he hasn't. He's in a fighting out of American top team now. He done a lot and helped Dustin Poirier in the lead up to his last fight. If you watch the Embedded, you will have seen Diego feature a lot holding the pads, being a sparring partner. Obviously came off his last win against Max Griffin back in, was that last year or was it the start of the year? I think it was this year. Tapology for loads. It was in February.
Yeah.
But apart from that, like, he had losses over Curtis Millender and Alexei Chunchenko. So we saw that he's at that stage in his career, 35 years of age, win, loss. You know what I mean? He's at that sort of. So he's not the same fighter he was. He tends to start well. If the fight's not going his way, he finds it difficult to turn the corner and get the momentum. If Staropoli allows him to, similar to in a sense what I was saying with Cowboy, if Staropoli allows Thiago to set that Muay Thai style and lead the dance, that's where he could get the victory here. Actually have my city tattoo talk. That dragon tattoo is because of Thiago Alves. I love his dragon tattoo. So I was like, yeah, getting a dragon. Bitches love dragons. I just think, obviously, I don't know a huge amount about Staropoli. I'm not going to lie and say, I know this guy inside out. I don't know a lot about him. He's 26. He's on a 6-fight win streak. Clearly, Thiago Alves has fought the better fighters, but it's about the trajectory of where they are in their career. Again, in Brazil, I'm going to go with Thiago Alves, fighting out of American top team in a training camp with Dustin Poirier in a title training camp. I think that's going to be nothing but helpful to him in this fight. But he doesn't seem to take shots like he used to. And that's not disrespectful. He just doesn't seem to be able to take the shot, to land the shot the way he used to do and the way he used to push forward. But I'll go with Thiago just for sentimental values on this one because, again, as I said, I don't know too much about his opponent.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I think I'm going to take Alves. I thought his last performance against Max Griffin was quite good. He surprised me a little bit in that one. So I still think he has a lot of skills, and I think this is going to be a striking match. And I fancy Alves again in a striking match against most, not all, but most. So I like him here. I'll be interested to know what the odds are, if there's any, and what the fans are picking, because I'd imagine the fans would be going really with Alves because the other guy's an unknown.
Yeah, 72-28.
Yeah.
No betting odds either.
No betting odds, yeah.
Huge favourite with the fans.
Yeah, I'd wonder what the betting odds are going to look like. Probably similar enough, but again,
it's the unknown. It's
exactly.
It's like what we said. Like, I don't know much about your man. He could be an absolute killer. Do you know what I mean? He could be phenomenal.
It's a big step up.
Yeah.
It is a step up. But the point for me is the arc is that he could be on his ascendancy while
exactly.
Alves has peaked. He's had his title shot. It didn't go his way. Like, he's had one UFC fight and he won it by unanimous decision. So that's all we can really know about him.
Yeah. The last, I guess you can probably say, all the 3 fights apart from the main event is a similar kind of situation. Like, Cannonier is kind of older, but he's still, trying to get to certain heights. Volkanovski is trying to get to certain heights, and now this Stropoli guy is trying to get to new heights as well. So
yeah, but when you Stropoli, the only point of note really is he's only fought twice in 2 years.
Yeah, so we'll see. The opener of the main card is Francisco Trinaldo against Diego Ferreira. I like this fight. I think this is a fun fight. What's your thoughts on it now?
Do you know what? I'm actually still surprised. I didn't realise Trinaldo was still competing. I'll be honest with you. UFC, like, he's always been around, hasn't he?
It's like a bad rash.
Yeah, he stands out for his win for me over Norman Park that time. And like when you look at him, like he has wins over the likes of Paul Felder, Jim Miller, Yancy Medeiros.
He's upset a lot of guys, yeah.
Yeah, like he's that sort of fugly fighter, isn't he? He's difficult to beat. He's an orthodox style. He's hard to read.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and that sounds disrespectful by saying, oh, I didn't know he was still competing. But I fucking didn't. While Ferreira, he's on a good win streak.
Yeah.
I think he's the better fighter out of the two. So I'll just go with Ferreira, considering the win streak he's on currently. I think he's on a 5 or 6 win streak. Could be wrong on that. I just Francesco Trinaldo's the type of guy that he wins, and when he does, it's finds the way.
Exactly, you know what I mean? Like he's a good striker, and he finds the way to keep it on the feet and land the better shots. And he's long, he's big for the weight class, so I can see that giving Ferreira problems. But even though Ferreira doesn't have great takedowns, he has excellent submissions. So if he can find a way to get to the floor, I think he might be able to submit him, or at least be able to make it a little bit dirty. But Trinaldo, he's a hard guy to get it to bet against, especially against guys who aren't great, or at least haven't proven to be at a great level just yet. So it's a weird one. I'd be interested to know where people are going with this one. But what's your thoughts on it as well, Sean?
So 79% of people have picked Ferreira, 21 for Trinaldo. Yeah, a tough fight to pick. Like you said, Trinaldo does well against guys that aren't that good, and you just make it a ducky fight. I'll probably go Ferreira as well, just for the form.
Yeah, sweet. I'm gonna go with Ferreira. So that's it. Is there anything else on the prelims that you want to call out?
Yeah, crazy. Nogueira is fighting.
Yeah,
Clay Guida and BJ Penn.
Nice. Oh, fuck, BJ Penn's on the card.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Against Clay Guida.
Jeez. Okay.
Welcome to the naughties, huh?
Yeah. Fuck.
This is a 2004 fight if I ever seen one. 91% have picked Clay Guida.
Jeez. Yeah. I'd well believe it, and they're probably right. But yeah, that's the main card, and put your predictions down in the comments as well. Let us know who you're picking. But let's move on to last month in MMA history. This is last month in MMA history. This is where we look at the best moments of last month. So that's April in mixed martial arts history. The top 8 moments ever, based on our opinions. So you know it's right. We're going to go bottom up. We're going to go from number 8. And this was UFC Toronto. 55,000 fans in Canada, where George St. Pierre and Jake Shields fought to a unanimous decision. And Machida also crane kicked Randy Couture in, I think it was not the co-main event, because the co-main event was Jose Aldo. But why is this on our list now? Why should this be considered one of the best moments in April MMA history?
Because Jake Shields is one of the most well-rounded mixed martial arts. He's got elite striking, elite... am I right in saying it's still the biggest attended UFC of all time? Second biggest?
Yeah, it was recently beaten by Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So at the time it was a huge achievement. Yeah.
Plus the Machida crane kick, teep kick, it's iconic.
Yeah.
You know, I'm right in saying that was before Anderson's had done it to Vitor.
It was after, but it was different because he done the jumping crane kick, the Karate Kid one, rather than just the front kick. Yeah. Iconic
moment and huge. Like everyone sort of thought because of George's style that Jake Shields would cause him a lot of problems in the fight. No, but yeah, it was huge. Like that was the UFC used to go to Canada. That was their big market for a long time under George St. Pierre. So it was an iconic moment. Selling out 55,000 people. Huge moment for mixed martial arts as a whole.
Yeah, it was big, and it kind of breaking that attendance record. Then you had Jose Aldo as well with the hematoma on Mark Hominick.
Hominick was very close to beating him.
Very close to beating him, yeah. And of course the crane kick. But it was just the whole moment of it. They built up this huge event, the biggest event in UFC history at the time, and yeah, it was a huge moment for MMA. Number 7. Gabriel Gonzaga. This was on April 24th, 2007. Gabriel Gonzaga knocked out Mirko Cro Cop with a head kick at UFC 70 in Manchester. Wow, this was insane.
Cro Cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was absolutely insane. Everybody was expecting that finish to happen, but was expecting Cro Cop to be the one standing above as victor. But yeah, it was absolutely stunning finish. And just completely unexpected.
Like, it was like, if you said to somebody, Yeah, Gabriel Gonzaga's going to head kick Mirko Cro Cop. People are like, no, that's silly. Because Gabriel
Mix that up.
Yeah, mix that up.
Yeah.
You mean the other way around. And even Sean, who hasn't seen a whole lot of Cro Cop, that probably even surprises you that he got head kicked.
Heavyweights throwing head kicks in general surprises me a lot.
Yeah, but
was right foot sends you to the hospital, left foot sends you to the
cemetery.
Yeah,
huge moment. In April 16, 2005, Chuck Liddell defeated Randy Couture in the rematch in the main event for the UFC light heavyweight title. And also, Matt Hughes and Frank Trigg fought in that fight that we gave Sean recently, where Matt Hughes was victorious with a rear naked choke. Dana White's favourite fight, and also Couture and Liddell was a huge fight for MMA at the time. Huge fight.
And am I right in saying that they just came off the Ultimate Fighter? They both coached.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So
they fought the event after,
they fought the week previous, and then the lads fought. And that was huge because it was the rivalry. It was like the All-American against the Iceman. Like, it was phenomenal. Yeah. Awesome.
And nobody expected Randy Couture when he came down the first time to beat Chuck. So it was like this huge thing. Like, geez, he beat him.
I think not to beat him, but how we beat him.
With the strikes. Yeah.
It's one of them that if you were going to say Randy Couture was going to beat Chuck Liddell, he wasn't going to finish him on the feet, but he did.
Yeah, he did. April 7, 2007, one of the biggest upsets in MMA history ever, still to this day. Matt Serra upsets George St. Pierre for the welterweight title, makes him tap by strikes, and wins the welterweight title after coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Another crazy moment, insane.
And this, in a sense, is the beauty of mixed martial arts. We make our picks, and like, what the funny thing about picks is, like, if you look at my picks from last week, I think I got like 2 right out of like 5 or something. Yeah. So it's awful, terrible.
Yeah.
But like, this proves mixed martial arts.
Mixed martial arts.
Anything can happen, and this was the hallmark of that. Matt Serra came out, caught George St. Pierre. I think it was a George St. Pierre who just thought, I have to turn up to beat this bum who just came through the Ultimate Fighter. But Serra, that's a historic moment. Matt Serra isn't in the Hall of Fame yet, is he? I'm sure he will. But
I'm pretty sure he got inducted last year, was it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, but insane moment. Number 4, April 2nd, 2004, UFC 47 featured the long-awaited match between Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz. This is one of the rivalries and fights that the UFC was really built off, and how it got so big.
Yeah, this was Tito had tried to deny this fight for so long, saying that they were training partners and friends.
And Chuck was like, no, we're not.
Chuck was like, this is not your fucking belt. Because at the time, like, Ortiz was the guy, like, and Chuck Liddell was his teammate. He was sort of coming up the ranks in the UFC, and eventually got to the stage where, look, I'm number one, you're the champion, you got to fight. And Tito, that's what killed me about the rematch that they had like last year. It was that, like, Tito now has a moment to say he beat Chuck Liddell. You know what I mean? And that's awful, because Chuck Liddell fucking destroyed him twice, like, absolutely ran through him. So that happens peak every time, But yeah, that's what killed me about that fucking Golden Boy promotions.
How insane is that? That was April 2nd, 2004, and they fought last year, or this year, was it? Fuck.
It was last year.
Late last year. Jeez, that's insane. April 7th, this is number 3. April 7th, 1995. UFC 5 went down, so there was a lot of things that happened at UFC 5 and why it gets into this spot. You had Royce Gracie versus Ken Shamrock in the rematch in the first super fight, and by super fight back then, it just meant that it wasn't a tournament fight, it was just a big fight between two guys they wanted to see. It also held the openweight tournament, the usual one where Dan Severn won, and also it marked the end of Gracie's involvement, so the whole lot of the Gracie family's involvement in the UFC, and a lot of them went to Pride then, because of the time limits in the UFC. But huge event for the UFC with that super fight. Not the best fight in the world, but it marked a kind of a shift from just these tournaments to let's actually put on fights that people want to see, and let's do it. So it was big.
Yeah, and again, look, it's quite funny that nowadays we see fights that are matched by a matchmaker, and we sort of go, I'd love to see a tournament format. Like we talked about 165 and 165s happening in the UFC. We'd be like, it'd be great to do like a tournament. But like, no, it's better. It's much better having a matchmaker and matching fights, because the fights you want to see, like, you look at failed round ribbons, ones that stands out, you know what I mean, is where Chuck was due to win and go on and fight Vanderlei or whatever, and these never happened because of the way fights played out and stuff like that. So historical moment, and rightfully in number 3.
3, yeah. Number 2, big one. Essentially, it was the formation of the unified rules. It happened in April. It was 2 Aprils. It was April of 2001 where it was brought into effect, and I believe April 2002 was when it was originally drafted. But it was the formation of the unified rules where they took all the different rule sets that different MMA promotions were using, wrapped them into one, and actually confirmed them as the unified rules of MMA. And like, when you actually think about that in the context of the sport, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I don't think there's that more saying to be said. It's basically creating the rule set for the sport.
Yeah.
Big moment.
Exactly, huge. And number 1. It was briefly mentioned earlier on. Tough 1. The finale of Tough 1 happened. It was the main event was Ken Shamrock against rising star Rich Franklin, but that's not what people remember. People remember Forrest Griffin versus Stephen Bonner in the co-main event, the Tough finale, the first Tough, the fight that is I guess credited with the huge growth of the UFC after that. But yeah, this has got to be number 1, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, if this fight was happening nowadays and like MMA didn't exist, like Twitter would be blowing up, Instagram, Facebook, I would all be going, oh my God, turn on such and such a channel. Apparently that was happening, but it was over phone calls. People were saying, oh my God, turn on Spike Television. And this was essentially the Fertitas and Dana White's last punt at success. Was this reality TV show. And it lived up. An insane fight between Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner. They literally just threw everything they had and the kitchen sink at each other. It was a phenomenal fight. The whole thing was built that one fighter will get a contract. And as we all know now, nearly every fighter gets into the Ultimate Fighter gets a contract. But at the time, it was really billed as a winner takes all. But the decision was made there after that fight to give Stephen Bonner a contract as well. But an insane fight. Saved the UFC, potentially did save the UFC, and perhaps I still think the sport would be around, but potentially it mightn't be as big with, obviously the UFC was a big front runner in mixed martial arts.
Mixed martial arts. Yeah, that's it. Let us know if there's anything we missed, or if you would reorder those. Let us know in the comments below. But let's swiftly move on to educating young Sean. So, Sean, we gave you 2 fights last week. I gave you a fight that Noel actually gave to me earlier in the day. It was Chuck Liddell versus Wanderlei Silva, a long-awaited match that went down at UFC 79. What are your thoughts? What's your review?
I'd seen a bit of Chuck just myself before, and obviously he gave me a Wanderlei fight from Pride, I believe it was, before. A really good fight. It seemed a very big event at the time as well.
Huge.
Yeah, it seemed that as well in the build-up. They did a massive build-up on Fight Pass. The event, the fight is actually like 50 minutes long on Fight Pass to show all the build-up, the promos and stuff.
Oh shit!
They don't do that with all the fights. But yeah, I seen massive. Chuck's a bit of a gangster, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
absolute gangster. Yeah.
He was the man in MMA at the time as well.
Yeah,
he's the reason why I watch MMA.
Yeah, that really comes across as well. How big he was at the time. But as well as that, I can see how much the sport has evolved since then when you watch that fight from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it was a really good fight, and a lot of people were really waiting a long time for that to happen. Some people said it came a little bit too late, but it probably did. But I still think it lived up to the hype.
It's a good fight.
It's still a
really good fight. Really enjoyed it.
They were both of them weren't past their prime. They weren't past their sell by date. They may not have been in their pinpoint prime, but they were still 2 phenomenal fighters.
Yeah, I think we're still lucky that we got it at that point and it wasn't later.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Who was the champion at that time? Because that wasn't for the title. Who was champion at that time?
Probably Randy, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know if it was. We'll have to look. We'll have to let us know in the comments and we'll figure it out. Yeah, the other fight that was given by Noel was JDS versus Cain Velasquez, number 2. This went down at UFC 155. Thoughts on this fight?
This is the most dominant beatdown I've ever watched. Fucking hell. I scored it you could argue I definitely gave the first 2 rounds 10-8s.
Yeah.
You'd arguably give the third. How Junior was still standing after round 1 is crazy. What a chin. Like, unbelievable to still be.
My rationale in giving you that fight, Sean, was to just show you how good Cain Velasquez was.
Yeah.
Because when he came back people see, and we were talking about nostalgia for Anderson Silva earlier, but people see Cain Velasquez fight against Francis Ngannou or whatever, and they're like, oh, whatever. But like, Cain was rightfully considered by many as one of the best heavyweights of all time. He just never fulfilled that potential because of injury and stuff. But
I was watching him. I was like, this guy's a heavyweight. Like, he's moving like a welter or something. It's crazy. His movement, his skills, his cardio. Fucking hell.
Yeah, unreal.
Only slowed down a little bit in the 5th round, but yeah, one of the worst beatdowns I've ever watched. Really enjoyed that one.
5 championship rounds we got Chuck and Vanderlei out of 5 championship rounds.
Going to give that one a 4. Enjoyed that one. It was good.
And then JDS.
Kane gets a 5. Kane on his own gets a 5.
Yeah.
That was so impressive. So impressive. And it wasn't one of them, I know it was a while back, but it wasn't one of them where you're looking and thinking, yeah, the sport's come a long way here. I think if you put that Kane in the octagon right now, I think he beats a lot of heavyweights, bar maybe 1, 2.
Yeah, and he actually physically rearranged Junior's face. Like, he looked different. He looked like a different guy at the end of that fight.
He took a chunk of Junior's soul with him that night.
Yeah.
Crazy to think, Junior Dos Santos potentially 1 fight away from getting a title shot though.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So now I'll let you go first this week. What fight do you have for Sean?
In honor of him fighting this weekend in Brazil, I'm going with BJ Penn taking on Joe Daddy Stevenson. This took place at UFC 80. So again, similar to what a lot of people remember older fighters for. This is BJ Penn, Joe Daddy Stevenson. Excellent fight.
Yeah.
UFC 80.
Excellent. You know me, I always go for the low-hanging fruit. So we're going to go for the tough one finale. Not the main event. We're going to go for Stephen Bonner versus Forrest Griffin. You have to see it, to be fair. We had to give it to you at some point.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with that one. Good fight. And there we have it. That's A Few Good Fights, episode 10. Let us know your opinions on the UFC card this weekend. Give us your predictions down below. Subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on audio, give us a review on iTunes if you can, because that would be excellent. And if you're not watching on YouTube, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. Check out all our videos and that. But lads, thanks for joining us today on this beautiful bank holiday.
Gang.
Yes. Cheers, lads.
See you later.
So apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications down the bottom.
Make sure you hit that and they get the ringer things because Rob didn't know. So it's the button there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around that area.